Welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Frankly Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your hosts. Frankie, how about a little toast for our second to last episode here? Frank and John, cheers. I love it, man. We are almost through with the season. I'm sad, man. I'm sad. I could do this every goddamn day. I love it, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I agree. God, wouldn't it be great? Come on, DraftKings, let's go. Where's Rogan at? Let's get something like that on there. What do you think,
get us some good sponsors. Let us do this full time. That'd be fantastic, man. Would love that. Welcome to the show, everybody. Very exciting NFC and AFC Championship games that we're going to get into today. We're also going to get into a few bets for the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about the matchup here and see how things look. And then next week, we're going to have our final episode of season 2, man. It's been a hell of a ride. 29 episodes this year. I think this is episode 50 overall, actually, in the past 2 years. So, man, congratulations to you, Frankie. You know, we do it. Brother. We're screaming into the abyss, the infinite abyss, and apparently a couple people like it. So it's fun, man. But next year, we're going to do our wrap-up episode. We're just going to look at some free agents. We're not done talking, so we're looking for excuses to keep doing this fucking thing, man. We're going to talk about some free agents, some job with openings with coaches, and some guys we're going to be looking at and keeping an eye on during the free agency and the off season here. And then we're kicking right back up after the 4th of July with some great content. It's going to be fucking awesome, man. Can't wait. Look next year for some interviews. Maybe we can get a few NFL players. We got a couple of things we're working on. That'd be sick, man. So how you doing, brother? How'd everything shake out for you with your bets and with your DFS this week? Obviously, I think we have an idea of how your DFS went. Mine didn't go so well. We had the exact same lineups, and only difference we have is the defense. And you son of a bitch, your defense was better than mine.
All right, Chiefs. Yeah. No, John, it was good, man. I'll tell you what. The bets were interesting. And I say that because we ended up, one of the big bets, man, were that 49ers plus 8.5. Remember, we talked about taking the points where it's available and then teasing that with plus 7 on the Cincinnati Bengals. We knew that was going to be a lock. I mean, shit, Bengals.
And it was. That was the only bet I hit this week, man. It was the one that you recommended. I went rogue. I had money in my DK, in my DraftKings, bank. I just started throwing shit out there, man. And God, that 49ers game just killed me with those bets. You can't plan for that, man. No, man. You just can't. Yeah. How'd you do all around, though, otherwise?
I did good. All in all, John, I won $8.
Wow. Hey, you're in the black, bro. You're in the black.
I don't spend it all in one place, baby. I'm getting Chick-fil-A. Some Chick-fil-A.
That's beautiful, man. Hey, don't forget, you can follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we're going to have some content on social media in the off season leading up to the draft, leading up to the combine, leading up to the free agency, and leading up to the season and draft season. I can't believe it's only a couple of months away already, man. I love it. Love it. And you can follow us on Twitter at Frankly Fantasy F. Ooh, I just screwed up my microphone here, man. All right, let's get into a couple of things on the news here. What do you say?
The season 2000 yards that you just don't expect. Absolutely lost. Flip out.
News and notes.
Okay, only a couple of things to talk about, but breaking news, Tom Brady sent a video out on social media. He is actually retiring this year after 23 seasons. I think he found an opportunity to do it his way, to not let somebody else leak it and all this stuff. I think he's actually done. I think he's had enough. He doesn't want to start over with a new team, new coach, new OC, new system. What do you think about that, Frankie?
I think I'm going to wait until this season rolls around, because what I could see happening, man, is something. I think he is done. I'm going to just say that, but there's a small sliver of me that's saying, what happens if the same shit goes down with Jimmy G and, Trey Lance, and you have all these quarterbacks going down? Maybe he gets picked up. And so there's still a small part of me that kind of believes that's a possibility. But I agree, man. I think after 23 seasons, the GOAT finally is at rest and is at peace with it. And I think that this year kind of proved there's so much turmoil, man. I mean, going on at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with that offensive line, the injuries, they couldn't get the running game going. Byron Leftwich ended up getting canned after this year. So Tampa, who was the offensive coordinator there at Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it was. I would agree with you. I think that it's going to be pretty much wrapped up, but who knows, man? I mean, there's still a little part of me that's like, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think he's done, man. I think it's time for him to move on. I think he finally reached that place on his own. Mm-hmm. But what an unbelievable season. I mean, the guy's the GOAT. Unbelievable career, man. I mean, 23 years in the NFL, retiring in 2023 here. Just unbelievable. I want to go through something I saw on Bleacher Report. Field Yates put this out, and I just thought it was really cool. Tom Brady in his 20s. So Tom Brady playing in the NFL in his 20s, 21,000 passing yards, 147 passing touchdowns, and 3 Super Bowl wins. Not bad. That's a hell of a career, man. I mean, that's enough to get somebody in the Hall of Fame.
Definitely.
I mean, really. Okay, let's look at Tom Brady in his 30s. Okay, Tom Brady in his 30s, 40,000 passing yards, 309 passing touchdowns, 2 Super Bowl wins.
Unbelievable.
Let's look at Tom Brady in his 40s, shall we? Okay, this gives me much pride being over 40. Tom Brady in his 40s, 27,000 yards passing, 193 passing touchdowns, 2 Super Bowl wins. I mean,
that's insane.
It's fucking incredible, man. I mean, how long is it going to be before that's beaten is what I want to know. I mean, it's going to take another 15 years for somebody who's been in been in the league for 5 at least. I mean, it's going to be a long time.
I mean, the closest would be, John, probably, maybe, if he can make it that long, Patrick Mahomes, maybe. I mean,
maybe.
The longevity, though, of 23 seasons getting beaten and battered and just crushed on a daily basis, 23 years. Interesting enough, he played more seasons than Brock Purdy has been alive. Think about that. What? When Tom Brady was a rookie, Brock Purdy was not even alive.
Wow.
That's insane, dude. I mean,
that is insane.
What? Yeah, it's just, sorry,
wow,
it's crazy.
No, that is absolutely nuts. I love it, though. But hey, great to the GOAT, man. Wish the best for him. Next thing on the news here, we got a couple of head coaches locked in here, buddy. 2 of the big names, really. D'Amico Ryans, he's defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, the number 1 defense in the NFL. He is going to be the head coach of the Houston Texans. Love this move, man. This is the guy everybody was going after, believe it or not. He was the top head coaching candidate going into the season, and a lot of teams wanted him, man. So let's talk about what he's jumping into and what he's inheriting here.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. This Houston team has how many draft picks, Frankie?
11.
11.
In 1 year.
11 draft picks in this upcoming draft. That is crazy. 2 first rounders, one they got from Cleveland. Now, what's interesting, we're going to do a little speculation here. Here's what I want to see. We've seen this happen with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. We've seen this in other areas as well. I want to see CJ Stroud and Ajigbo go to Houston in the first round. I want to see them. It absolutely could happen. Absolutely could happen. They may have to trade up a little bit for Stroud, but I think it can happen, man. With a new coach with D'Amico Ryans, J.J. Watt is rumored to be looking at coming onto the coaching staff. But you know what this one thing does to me is bringing in a new head coach and bringing in 11 draft picks and getting some stars on this team and solidifying this team. One guy I'm looking at for next year, it's Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
I think this is going to help him. No matter what happens, it's going to help him. He was that good on that shit team. They get a little bit of stability, get some, weapons around them, get a solid head coach and bring in a new culture. Boom. Dameon Pierce, man. I love it.
It's going to be crazy. I'm looking at this draft picks right now. And for those of you listening, listen to this. These are the 11 draft picks, guys. They have the second overall pick, first round, second overall pick. They have the 12th overall pick in the first round from Cleveland, from that trade with Deshaun Watson. They have a second round pick, which is the 33 overall pick. Guys, that's basically another first round. Right?
Exactly.
It's the first pick in the second round. They then have 2 third round picks, number 65, which is very, very good pick, and number 73. They then have a 4th, a 5th, and 4-6. John, to your point, man, this is the opportunity. This is what you have. One shot. You have one fucking shot. Don't mess this up. And I agree with you. I think they absolutely are going to go CJ Stroud. They could end up going Bryce Young. They're going to do a quarterback of some sort here. And then for that number 12th overall pick, John, it's going to be fascinating. They could trade back. I think in Jigba, they could end up getting in the 20s, something like that in the first round, and between 20 and 32 from a pick perspective. And they get another pick. So that could be 12 picks total. They are in the driver's seat in a very poor division in my eyes. And so, John, this team could be really interesting behind DeMeco Ryan, behind Dameon Pierce, behind these young guys that are coming up. Give them 2-3 years and see what happens. It's going to be pretty cool.
Well, I mean, look what we've seen. We're not talking out of our ass here where people are going, oh, you guys are talking about the Texans. These teams, look at the Jets. Look what the Jets did with a good coach, good GM, with a lot of draft picks. Houston's very much in the same boat. They're probably a year or two behind what the Jets were able to do.
Jags too.
Jags as well. Yeah. I just love seeing these teams that have been bad for a while. This is what makes the NFL wonderful. Is these teams at the bottom all have a chance with the proper decision making, the way the league's set up. They all have a chance to improve their teams and to be right back in the mix the following year. I love it, man. It's just absolutely beautiful. Yeah. All right, let's talk about another head coaching change here. Sean Payton, they made the deal, man. He was the darling in the offseason here. Sean Payton will be the Denver Broncos head coach.
Awesome.
He was traded. Frankie, why don't you talk about what he was traded for here? Because he was still under contract with the Saints and had to be traded. They couldn't just sign and pay him.
No.
So what are some of the details? I know they're all not out yet, right?
Right. So what we've seen so far, John, is they did have to give up a first-round pick, and it is a 2023 first-round pick as well as a 2024 second-round pick. So that is a lot of capital, guys, for a coach. Now, the difference is, there have been a lot of reports that were saying, John, that the Broncos were full steam ahead. DeMeco Ryan was their guy. And here, DeMeco Ryan, for those of you who know, he was a stud linebacker for Houston Texans. He really raised his family there in Houston, has a tie there. And so that's why that was his dream job, was the Houston Texans head coaching job. So when he was off the table officially for Houston, that's when Broncos went full bore at Sean Payton. And even with that draft capital, John, that they had to give up, I love it. And I say that because this is a Hall of Fame coach. I say that because this guy knows winning. He knows a winning culture. He knows what it takes to get it done. He has a potential Hall of Fame quarterback at the helm. He has all of the weapons that he needs. He's going to have a healthy Javonte Williams. In my opinion, we're going to talk about it next week, but I think they're going to bring in another running back to help out with that. I just think that this is a perfect storm, and you have a top defense, a top 6 defense in the NFL, perfect storm for this level of coach. So they gave up a lot. I'm not saying they didn't, but I think it's the right move.
Yeah, I do as well. And this will be telling because Russell Wilson was a fucking nightmare this year. He was just terrible. And we know he can be good. We know he's got the ability. Again, he's a future Hall of Famer here. But this will be interesting because if Sean Payton can't get the most out of Russell Wilson, then he is done. But I think he's going to be able to. I mean, we've seen him work with much lesser quarterbacks on much worse teams than this. So I think it's a great fit, man. I think it's going to be pretty exciting here. All right. Last piece of news here. Frankie and I were, I want you to get ready here, Frankie, because I know your blood was boiling. We were talking on the phone all week, just pissed off and upset and freaking out about this. The Pro Bowl. Let's shit on the Pro Bowl a little bit here because and you know what, they deserve it. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is what we're talking about. Now we've got quarterbacks that were injured. We've got quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, guys that are, not participating, Josh Allen, that kind of stuff. An alternate in the Pro Bowl for the AFC is Tyler Huntley. Frankie, the floor is yours, please.
Guys, this John, I taking a step back. Woosah. Okay. We wanted to, you just mentioned how bad Russell Wilson's play was. He should be in the Pro Bowl over Tyler Huntley, guys. Here is the interesting fucking thing about this. And this boils my blood because this is bullshit.
Get fired up. Get fired up,
man. Because here's the deal. Okay, when you have Trevor Lawrence that was in, absolutely deserving, right? We have Tannehill that should have been in, but he's hurt. You have Justin Herbert that should have been in, he's hurt. So there's definitely a pool of guys that should have been there. Unfortunately, they're not because of injury, Lamar being another. Okay, let's set that to the side. You bring on Trevor Lawrence as an alternate, absolutely correct. Derek Carr, after seeing the drop-off and understanding that he had 3,500 yards this year, 24 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions, an 86.3 passer rating, he should get the nod. So he did.
Well, let's put it in perspective. He's fine. Should he be in the Pro Bowl? No. The only reason he's even in the Pro Bowl is because of the injuries of some of these guys where they just don't want to aggravate. Maybe they're pissed off like Josh Allen. I think he's just pissed. He just
I do too.
Doesn't want to go. He should have been in the Super Bowl and he knew it.
Pebble Beach is what I heard.
That's what I saw. That's what I saw. Yeah. So let's start there. So Derek Carr, fine. I'm not upset about it. I don't give a shit about it. I don't think he deserves it, but fine. By default, he's in. Now we need one more quarterback in the AFC.
We need one more quarterback in the AFC, guys. It's not Tyler Huntley. We need somebody to literally tell us why. And I went down a rabbit hole last night so fucking far I couldn't see up. And I say that because you have Jacoby Brissett, who had a top 10 offense when he was starting. By the way, that was 11 games. He had 2,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, an 88.9 passer rating. And again, at the time, he was leading a top 10 offense, and it wasn't on the back of Nick Chubb. Okay, so that's one guy. You have Russell Wilson, who we mentioned. And guys, I get what I'm saying. To John's point, no, they shouldn't be in the Pro Bowl. But with the circumstances that have come to play or really just kind of shown themselves, these were the guys to pick from. And so you have Russell Wilson. Yes, he had a terrible ass year. He still threw for 3,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions with an 84.4% rating. And by the way, the back half of the year after Nathaniel Hackett left, that team ended up averaging almost 20 plus points a game compared to when Nathaniel Hackett was there. It was under 15. Okay, so the progression is what I'm getting at, was there for Russell Wilson. Then you look at Davis Mills. Davis fucking Mills, okay? 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 78.8 passer rating. Not a great year, but he threw the ball 3,000 plus yards. You look at Kenny Pickett, right? 2,400 passing yards. He had, 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns. He had like 7 passing touchdowns or 5 passing touchdowns, whatever it was, right? Then you have fucking Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley, listen to this, 658 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 77.2 passer rating. How in the living shit are we going to put in a guy that literally has more interceptions than he does touchdowns? He was 48th on passing yards and passing touchdowns. By the way, guys, there's 32 fucking teams in the NFL. So think about that. Think about what I'm saying. How does this make sense? And this bothers me so bad is because, John, it's bullshit. That's a terrible look on how this was done, on why this was chosen. I'm serious. I think a lot of people, and I know we're maniacal about this. I know a lot of people are like, dude, who gives a shit? That's fine. You're like that. I get it. But for me as a dude who like loves this and eats this and breathes this and sleeps this bothers me, man, because and especially being a Browns fan here, why you could make the argument Jacoby Brissett 110% should have been over that of Tyler Huntley. Shit, you could make the argument, John, based on statistics alone, that Deshaun Watson could literally be in over that of Tyler Huntley. And so I started digging in a bit more, right? And here, some reports are coming out saying, well, he did lead his team to a playoff and all this stuff. Okay, cool. But he didn't do shit. Like, just because you lead a team to a playoff doesn't mean you did anything. Like, the defense did everything. J.K. Dobbins did a lot. Gus Edwards did a lot. Like Tyler Huntley didn't win them a game.
No,
So
their
for
offense
me,
was terrible under Tyler Huntley.
terrible.
It was terrible.
And then we're going to sit here and act like it's fine and all this other shit. They just fired Greg Roman, their OC, because their offense couldn't get it together. So you think about it, taking a step back, you think about it from all these different things, right? How? My question is how? And it really bothers me because I feel like this was a bullshit plug. I feel like this was something to where they really wanted Tyler Huntley in there because he was Lamar's backup, because the Ravens, all this stuff. I think there was a storyline they're trying to pull from a Lamar injury, whatever it is. And to me, man, that makes my blood boil because I just listed off guys that know they should not have been in the Pro Bowl. Not even close.
It feels like there's a narrative or there was something going on in the back end because it absolutely 2 fucking touchdowns, 600 yards. I mean, we've seen Patrick Mahomes almost do that in one game.
Like,
I mean,
literally.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't get it. It's embarrassing. And you know what? NFL, fucking figure it out because
that was
come
bad,
on, man.
dude.
There's guys' salaries, there's bonuses, things tied to the Pro Bowl. Come on, man. I hate it. I don't like it at all. Yeah. All right. Are you done? Do you feel better?
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel so much better.
All right, man. Hey, let's get into and let's talk about the championship games last week. First, let's start off with Philly and the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah. What an unfortunate set of events that was. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't feel bad for Brock Purdy. I feel bad for Kyle Shanahan because I truly do think this year he's the best coach in the NFL.
No question.
No question to me in my mind whatsoever. He had 3 different quarterbacks, took his team to the NFC Championship, #1 defense. I mean, the creative play call. I love Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I just think he's the coolest coach out there. I feel bad for him, man. He was trying everything he could. I mean, Brock Purdy's out 6 months with that elbow.
UCL.
He tore. Yeah. I mean, and when I saw them go out there with Brock Purdy and just start handing the ball off, they're down 4 scores. I just went, oh my God, this is sad. It just sucked. It just absolutely sucked, man. I mean, what are your thoughts on that game?
I just think hats off to Philly, first and foremost. Congratulations making it to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, what a freaking story, man. A.J. Brown and that defense, Nick Sirianni taking nothing away.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think the 49ers, I feel bad. I feel bad because Brock Purdy was 4 for 4 for 24 yards, right? And he was already, it looked like he was in sync pretty quickly. CMC was looking really good early. The defense was grinding early. I mean, outside of that Devonta Smith, that actually was a drop, but they called it a catch. Outside of that play, I mean, they actually still would have probably had an opportunity to make this a much closer game, that being the 49ers making it a closer game. Yeah. I just feel bad, man. And it was interesting. I read a quote from Fred Warner, their middle linebacker, who's a Pro Bowler. He's insanely good, all this stuff for the 49ers. And he was talking about Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy was really, really screwed up after this game, just mentally like down. And he said, for those of you who are, talking shit about Brock Purdy or for the, Brock Purdy's so upset with himself, he shouldn't be. He's the reason why they got there. And when you take a step back and you think about that game, Jimmy G went down against Miami, and you're seeing Brock Purdy step up and looking at what he did, John, again, we're delineating between eliteness and having an incredible year here. This was an incredible year for Brock. And for us, I feel like the problem for me is I feel like Brock Purdy got gypped. And I say that because he had an opportunity this game to silence some of the people that maybe didn't believe that he was the real deal, even though there was a decent enough sample size to where it showed this dude can play. Now, at what level consistently, I don't know, but this dude can play. And so I think he got gypped there a bit, but at the end of the day, man, like what you said, Kyle Shanahan, dude, he did the best that he could. And then when you see Josh Johnson come in here and how bad he looked, and then he
was
gets hurt,
so bad.
And it's just
one thing I will say, I haven't been, I'm not a Brock Purdy hater. I've never hated on him. Yeah. I just said, everybody slow your fucking roll on calling him elite and comparing him to Tom Brady. Stop it.
Yeah.
However, he's played really, really well, and not making mistakes is one of the biggest things you can do as a quarterback. That should be a stat of how many mistakes did they make? Yeah. You know, Brock Purdy looked great. I am upset because I wanted him to prove it to me as well. And I would have just said, you know what? This guy's fucking legit. He beats the Eagles, all of that. I wanted him to prove it to me because now we may never know.
Yeah.
This is a rookie quarterback. He's not going to be the starter next year. I mean, this is a team that is going to run it back and go to the Super Bowl potentially. They're not going to start Brock Purdy. I mean, he'll have a chance somewhere, whether it's in San Francisco as a backup or maybe he goes somewhere. He'll have a chance to play and he'll have a chance to prove himself again. But I'm just upset he didn't get a chance to do that, you know, on prime time in the NFC Championship. Yep. But I will tell you, I'm also not a Brock Purdy lover, but watching Josh Johnson go out there after Brock Purdy had been out there already, holy shit, what a difference. I'd said before in the previous podcast that you could plug 25 quarterbacks into that San Francisco 49ers offense and they'll play like Brock Purdy. All right, I'm going to say 15 quarterbacks. Let's just the line is changing for me on that because after seeing that piece of shit, Josh Johnson up there, man, that was so bad. Wow. So yeah, I will give Brock Purdy kudos because he did look great. It's not just the team. It's not just Shanahan. His play was really, really, really good as well. All right, man. And let's go to Philly real quick. I mean, Philly, Jesus, man, they look unstoppable. I mean, do they really have any weaknesses? I mean, for the Kansas City Chiefs to look for weaknesses, which I know they'll find them. Andy Reid is fucking brilliant. I don't know where they are. I mean, you're going to have to dig into film. You're going to have to dig into the offensive line schemes and zone blocking and all that stuff. I don't know where their weaknesses are, man. I mean, this team looks incredible. I will be rooting for them. I absolutely will be rooting for Philadelphia in this game. They played unbelievable. They made zero mistakes. You can blame that Devontae Smith call. Didn't matter, man.
Didn't matter.
It didn't matter. This game was over. I would love to have seen it be closer, but look what they did with the number one defense in the NFL. It was incredible, man.
It was
absolutely incredible.
And the ability that they had, John, to take away from Philly's perspective, that like when San Francisco was able to take away AJ Brown, and then you're able to see all of the other elements start popping, like Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, and then Devonta Smith. Like you, to your point, you start trying to find, okay, where are these holes? And dude, I got to be honest, I can't even find any. Their offensive line is impeccable. Lane Johnson is
They
out there.
ran the ball. Dude. Like crazy. Against the number one rush defense. Nobody can run the ball against the 49ers. They ran the ball at will. It was absolutely insane. And I think that part of that is, number one, it's coaching and the scheme and the blocking and everything. And the offensive line's insane. Jalen Hurts is an X factor. You put a Brock Purdy behind there, it's a different story. It's going to be harder to run the ball. You're going to have a pocket passer. With Jalen Hurts, these rushing lanes are wide open. Somebody has to account for Jalen Hurts. Yep. And he still ran all over these guys, man. I mean, when they do their fakes, fake it to the right with a run, fake pass, and then Jalen Hurts just runs around by himself, not even touched. I mean, it's so difficult to defend against that. Okay. Bengals and Chiefs. Let's talk about that. The first thing I want to talk about, I felt bad for the Bengals as well. They're better. They're better than their performance showed. The only thing I can think of, I forget everything about the game except for what the fuck was going on with the referees in that game. Dude,
it was awful, John.
I mean, they got another third down. That is such. Apparently a ref blew a whistle. It was 3rd and 9. Chiefs have the ball. It's a tie game at this point. This is fourth quarter. That was late in the game, wasn't it? In fourth quarter. 3rd and 9. Chiefs have the ball to try to drive down and score. All they need is a field goal to win this thing. Apparently, a ref blew a whistle. 3rd and 9. They missed it. It was going to be 4th down. They gave them 3rd and 9 over again. I've never seen anything like that. I literally thought we were going to have one of those situations. I thought
Zach Taylor was going to
Zach Taylor. He went apeshit, and he should have. I went, oh my God, they're going to stop the game. He's going to just say, I demand I'm not going out on the field until we get explanation and figure this out, because that was the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. In the most crucial point of the game, that literally decided the game. You know, I mean, that game could have been in overtime very easily.
Yeah.
And because of that call, you know, I mean, just crazy, man. But hey, you know, kudos to Patrick Mahomes and to that team and to Andy Reid. My God, what a warrior. You know, I would have loved to have seen the Bengals, but I'm happy that the Chiefs did win that and they are in the Super Bowl, because I truly think these are the best of the best. These are the two best teams. We didn't have a dark horse sneak in and then have a shitty Super Bowl. This is going to be awesome. Talk to me a little bit about that Bengals Chiefs game.
Yeah, man, it was really cool. I mean, it was as we expected, is what I'm trying to say. And what I mean by that is we saw Joe Burrow flash. We saw the warrior, and I love that term that you said, a warrior for Patrick Mahomes. Because guys, if you've never had a high ankle sprain, and to get out there and to be even doing what he was doing is almost non-human. And I'm telling you that, like, it's very, like, the pain threshold that this cat has is off the chart. So that was incredible,
and he would
man.
Still do a naked bootleg. He would still roll out. He did whatever. I mean, he would throw a pass and he's limping back to the sideline, limping back to the huddle. I mean, wow. And pulled it off, man. And fucking pulled it off. I mean, I'm getting chills just thinking. It was awesome to watch. It really, really is.
It's going to be really interesting. And again, to your point, John, shout out to Cincy. I mean, what a freaking hell of a year.
What a great season.
I mean, dude, you guys were, you know, let's call it that was a really terrible call by the refs. It was also a really dumb penalty towards the end of the game, hitting Patrick Mahomes out of bounds there, right? Yeah. So there's a few things that, you know, it's like, man, this sucks. This sucks for you, Philly, or for you, Cincy. But, you know, for Kansas City's side, man, I think you're right, John. I think these are really the two best teams in Philly and Kansas City. I also think it's going to be fascinating to see the Kelsey brothers go against each other. First time in Super Bowl history, two brothers are going against each other. And the other cool storyline about this, man, is Andy Reid. Like Andy Reid having 10 seasons with that of the Eagles and now having multiple seasons with Kansas City and taking them both to a Super Bowl, taking them both to deep playoff pushes. Like, dude, it is. And now he's
winning a Super Bowl with both teams.
Yes.
He's won a Super Bowl with both teams already.
It's so cool, man. It's so cool. So for me, man, I agree. This was the storyline I hoped it would be. I think this is the more fun storyline. And the other flip side of this is I think the Bengals are going to be back and better than ever. And I think that, you know, next year they're going to be able to have, you know, shore up that offensive line issues. I mean, again, they weren't able to keep Burrow up. And that's what we talked about, John, in the previous podcast there is, you know, in order to do this, in order to replicate what they did as if they were playing the Buffalo Bills against that of Kansas City, you got to keep Burrow upright. And Chris Jones ate like a motherfucker. Him and Frank Clark won that game. And so,
Kansas City, we talked about it with the Buffalo-Cincinnati game, and Cincinnati was still able to run the ball. They were still able to keep Joe Burrow upright. Kansas City watched that game, broke it down, and they exploited the weaknesses. Kansas City figured it out because that was not the case that way. Joe Burrow struggled for, you know, the beginning of that game. I went, because I went heavy on the Bengals and the bets, and I was very nervous going, oh my God, they're not doing anything. This defense has their number, man. So it was tough. I mean, that's kudos to, I'm not going to criticize the Bengals for it. I'm going to congratulate the Chiefs for it. It was just great coaching, man. Yeah. Great execution and great coaching.
Great
All right,
game.
let's look at the Super Bowl here. We got a couple minutes to kind of preview that. I mean, in my mind, how do the Chiefs beat the Philadelphia? How do they do it? I just really, honestly don't know.
John, in my eyes, it has to be Travis Kelce working the middle of the field with Patrick Mahomes, and you have to get Jerick McKinnon involved. I don't think you're going to be able to run Isaiah Pacheco against this Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Ingram like type of Philly front. I don't think it's going to be possible. So I think they're going to have to leverage the interesting plays of like maybe shovel passes like that to Kelce. They're going to have to really leverage that of Jerick McKinnon as a serious passing threat. And the other thing, John, is they're going to have to leverage Juju. A lot of what we saw was MVS in that game, and I think that Philly's going to pick that up and try to take away those deep threats, right? And I think Kadarius Toney was a little bit banged up and things like that. I think he's going to be fine heading into the Super Bowl. He's going to need to be an X factor. But for me, man, it is going to have to be not the Chiefs defense, because that defense, in my opinion, they're going to get points put up on them. I think it has to be Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce truly taking this game over and winning this for the Chiefs, man. That's my perspective, because other than that, I don't think the Chiefs alone can really shut down that of Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, et cetera, because they're just too good on
There's
that
too
front.
much. It's just too much to stop.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be tough, and I know Philly's going to come after Patrick Mahomes immediately. I guarantee there's a blitz on the first play, man. I mean, they're going to be coming after him. They're going to try to make him uncomfortable right off the bat. I mean, that's what you have to do. And I know that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are good and smart enough to understand that. So they're going to have a plan. You're going to see a lot of quick hits. You're going to see a lot of really cool creative screens. Awesome. I think you might see the most screens out of an offense that you've ever seen in a Super Bowl this year or this week, or next week for the Super Bowl. Yeah, I think it's going to be cool, man, but it's going to be very, very challenging. Who are some of the guys? Let's look at, we're not doing a DFS lineup here, but let's look at a DFS lineup. Who are some of the cheap guys in this game that you think could really pop off?
That's a really good question, John. I am definitely going to put my money on that of McKinnon. So I really, really like him. I think another interesting one that you can get fairly cheap, and I'm actually pulling it up, guys, as I'm looking away here, because I want to give, I really do like MVS. So he's fairly cheap as well, at roughly around that 6,200. Same thing with Juju. He's at $5,600. But John, for me, man, if I'm looking at this, I like McKinnon and I like Gainwell. And Gainwell you can get as a running back for $5,000. I think they might leverage him a little bit more on some swing routes and some out routes, change of pace back. They're going to, because I really think Kansas City is going to be able to handle Miles Sanders a little bit differently. They're going to see what happened with the San Fran game. They're going to be able to apply that, right? It's all about the prep. But for me, man, I see Kenneth Gainwell as a sleeper option for sure. And then obviously that of MVS and potentially McKinnon.
I see Boston Scott as a sleeper as well. He scored last week. I mean, what they can do with Boston Scott is be in a wildcat formation, or I'm sorry, not a wildcat, but in a shotgun with Boston Scott there and showing a pass, and then either a swing pass or a handoff, that type of thing. That's where they get you, because nobody's focused on Boston Scott. They're all looking at Jalen Hurts at that point, because they know what's going to happen inside the 5.
And John, that's a good call though, guys, because when you're setting these DFS lineups, every single person is going to have, Mahomes or Hurts. Yeah. They're going to have to
find something to separate you.
Exactly. You have to find a true diamond in the rough. And that could be a Gainwell. That could be a Boston Scott. That could be a Kadarius Toney that ends up getting healthy and you putting out there, right? That could be a Quez Watkins, right? Something like that for Philly from a receiver perspective. So yeah, dude, you got to be able to find those diamonds in the rough, and that's what could change your DFS lineup.
Absolutely. All right, man. Let's get into a little bet here. Let's frank it up, baby.
Frank it up.
Yeah.
You got to frank it up.
Frank it up. Frank it up.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. All right, what do you have for us this week, buddy? This is my last week of betting.
Okay.
This is it. I only bet on football, only bet during the playoffs. What do you have for me? All of your bets have hit. All of them have made me a little bit of money. Where can I just dump my entire rest of my account into? On which bet do you have here?
John, I'm going to go back to the well with the teases. And so what I mean by that is so there's two bets I really like. One being a tease of Kansas City +8 right now is what you can get, with the over of 43.5. And I like that because I do not see Kansas City getting blown out this game. And I also think, right, when we look at the amount of points that both the Eagles and Kansas City have continued to put up, it should be over that 43.5 mark. I could see it being actually 44 and like a 20-24, or maybe it's like a 28-21 or something along those lines, or whatever, right? I see it being over that mark. So for me, I like that tease. Now, I also, as this line starts moving, because it's going to move, and when a line moves, that means more people are placing bets on whatever they think is going to hit. That's what causes that shift. And so I could see this, though, John, getting down to a straight line of maybe a half. What I mean by that is Philly minus half, Philly minus 1. If that's the case, that's basically a pick 'em. And that's a straight line bet. For me, I'll probably take that. I would probably take Philly minus half, Philly minus 1, because I think Philly, to your point, John, I think they're more prone to winning this game.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting line as well. And so the thing is, though, you can take both of those. You can take both of those bets because you're planning. God damn it, planning on the Eagles to win. I know, right? Planning on the Eagles to win, but they also, as long as Kansas City doesn't lose by more than 8, both of those bets could hit. And so for me, that's why I like those. But I'm anchoring my shit on all the T's. I actually put my money where my mouth is and already took that. So I'm going with Kansas City plus 8 with the over 43.5.
That is a beautiful bet. I love that. Well, the remaining little bit of money I have is going on that bet. 100%, man. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. We've got one more episode coming out next week, and we're going to be talking about some guys you need to be looking at in the free agency here. Where are they going to go? Who are they? These are fantasy relevant guys we're going to be talking about. And don't forget, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Well, let me look at the bottom here. And YouTube, yes, at Frankly Fantasy Football, and on Twitter at Frankly Fantasy F. Frankie, I love you, brother. Any parting words for us, man?
Guys, enjoy the Super Bowl coming up in a few weeks. It's going to be one hell of a time. Have a freaking blast at the Super Bowl party, and let's win some money, baby.
Goddamn right. Let's go. I love you, man. May the fantasy gods smile upon you. Bye.